My mic is trapped in my hair, so you might not. I'll try and move it. I hope that you hear me. I hope you can see me. I'm in Sarah's conservatory. I'm not sure if I'm getting... Oh, there are some people. You just need to let me know if I am cutting on and off. I hope not. I just came in here because there was some light left, but I might have to move. So I was going to do this live stream a few days ago, but do you know what? I was a bit resistant to this live stream. I've been resistant to it. And funnily enough, the resistance is part of what I'm going to talk about. I wrote this down just before I went live. Where we are resistant is where our growth is. And the reason that we don't grow as quickly as we could is because our awareness is dominated by egoic structures. And if any of you who know me will know from some of my live streams that I talk about ego as a wounded child, as the part of us that's trying to protect our wounded child that has become kind of neurotic, like a teenager who believes it knows everything, but it doesn't because it has lived long enough. So that's kind of what our ego is. And I felt really resistant around talking about this subject of soul alignment because really it's messy. And I kind of felt like people aren't going to want to hear what I have to say around this subject. So I was kind of struggling with talking about it. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit before I get into the whole story of soul alignment. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gail and I'm an intuitive soul coach. Although interestingly today I was told not to use the word coach. So if any of you have a word that I can use that's not coach, then let me know. I'm an intuitive and hello Jacqueline, hello. And I basically work at the moment with, I work with empaths and sensitives, helping them to be more open and strong and heart-led. We need that on the planet at this time, especially in the Western world. I also work with people who are, struggling to connect with their soul voice and who are very wounded. Their childhood wounds are maybe playing out over and over and over again into their adult lives and affecting them. So we look at family timelines. I go through 5 sessions. Generally, it's around about 5 sessions. But it does lead on to more for a lot of people. And the reason I'm doing this live stream today is because I wanted to talk about the second session that I take people through. So for those of you who haven't seen my other streams, do follow me. There's a little one here. You can follow me and take a look at the stream that I did, I think, about 4 days ago, where I was talking about family and ancestral patterns, for anyone who's interested in that. So soul alignment, I've got notes for this one because it's kind of a topic that's a bit tricky. And it falls into the realm of that I'm still downloading lots of information on this. So I maybe don't have it totally clear and concise, but I'm hoping that you will understand what I'm saying. So soul alignment is where your soul is trying to bring you into alignment with your higher self. So your soul is constantly calling you towards becoming this version of you. It's constantly calling and trying to get your attention. The problem is that us as humans, we're so layered up with egoic structures from the collective unconscious and also from our own family lines, how we've been brought up. Maybe the peers that we've been around, our caregivers, our teachers, our bosses and all of that. They're all contributing to the voices in our heads, the beliefs that we have about ourselves. And the egoic structures do their best to hold us back, to kind of reside in our shadow. And our soul is doing its best to pull us forward. So there's this constant push and pull and push and pull and push and pull. And you may have noticed in your life that your life kind of goes like that. It's like getting in the car and you turn on the ignition and you start to drive, and then all of a sudden your car stalls and you're stuck for a little bit. And then once you figure out what's wrong and you see it and you get it fixed, you call up the AA, right? You basically fix your car, you get in it, start going along on the path that you want to be on, and then all of a sudden there's a detour and you're way off on a path that you didn't think you would be on, a road that you didn't think you were going to take. And you maybe meet people on that road that you didn't know you were going to meet, and you maybe stall again, or you stop and you have a party with some people in Cuba. I don't know why I've got that on the brain. But anyway, you stop and join in a party, and you come off track, and then you get back in your car and something else happens. Maybe you pick up a hitchhiker, and that hitchhiker is really hot and you decide you're going to spend some time with them, and you go totally off track. They take you away on their path and you lose yourself again. And this is how it is. So ego is all these things that stop us along the way, and soul is trying to pull us in the direction of the soul, where your highest purpose lies. So this makes life kind of bumpy. It's a lot of the reason why your life is not just full of joy. It's a huge reason why I have a problem with the way the law of attraction is spoken about. The law of attraction has kind of been taken as this vehicle for creating and manifesting the life of your dreams, but it doesn't look at any other laws. You know, Marianne Williamson talks about the law of compensation, and I want to talk about the law of co-creation, and also I guess the law of alignment, of soul alignment. I don't know if there is that law, but I'm going to make that up, because at this moment in time, your soul has the best chance of waking up through going through hardship. It has way less chance of going through an awakening, an enlightenment period, by just being happy. And that's why I struggled about talking about this subject, because people don't want to hear that. People don't want to feel or believe that they are going to go through some hardship in order to wake up to themselves. But at the moment, the quickest way and the most direct way for us to get to alignment is through hardship. Sorry, someone is Snapchatting me and I think it's putting off my stream. Are you guys still there? Stop Snapchatting me. Yeah, so this is the thing. So where your soul is trying to bring you into alignment through struggle. Okay, so if you can think back, some of you on here just now, and all of you who are watching the replay, think back to times, or even you might be in it right now, times where you're struggling right now, times where you struggled last week, times where you struggled a month ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago, and look at those moments and see where you woke up through going through that hardship. What was it you learned about yourself? What was it you experienced within yourself that was a gift? Because Source is trying to do this as a gift to us. I know at the time it seems hellish and painful, but Source is really trying to give us a universal kick up the backside so that we wake up to who we really are. And this is why law of attraction kind of does my head in a little bit. Because if people understood that it's okay to experience pain, they wouldn't try and run from it so much. They wouldn't judge it so much. There wouldn't be this judgment on depression where we suddenly all go and take pills because we're depressed. We would understand on a universal perspective that something is happening within that person or within us that is trying to call us forward to a higher version of ourselves. We would understand that if we have some kind of disease, that it's dis-ease in the body, that there's something blocking us. There's maybe an emotional blockage. There's maybe something else going on. Maybe we do have a crap diet. Maybe that needs to be looked at. We would look at disease and discomfort really differently. It would be, wiser. We would make wiser choices around those areas, those things in our lives. And when we were in pain, we wouldn't run from it. We would be able to sit in it and ask to be shown where the blocks are, what the issues are, what the emotional wounds are. We would connect with our inner child. We would listen. We rarely listen. we sit in pain and we fight it. We either become angry, or even in sadness, all we do is kind of wallow. We don't listen and hear what's actually going on. There's great wisdom and golden nuggets inside of us amidst pain. So that's the first thing. So what I've written here is trying to look at where your struggle is, your soul taking you somewhere. So hardships, for example, bear with me, just in case you're not getting this. Hardships are higher vibrational energy. This sounds completely backwards, right? But the high vibrational energy, your soul needs a catalyst to wake you up. And unfortunately, at this time on earth, our pain and trials are quicker at awakenings than our joy. So I just explained a little bit of that a minute ago. Because if you're just happy all the time, you wouldn't see, well, I guess you wouldn't need anything, would you? You wouldn't really need anything in life. And that's not the human experience. The human experience at the moment is full of wounds from early on. So the universe is trying to wake us up to these things so we can clear all that egoic shadow. We can wake up and witness to it. Jacqueline says she gets me good, because in my head sometimes it feels like trying to bring it into words feels a bit complicated still. Marcus says, heard a teacher elaborate the path through our suffering with a goal beyond it, but never being averse to it, or as you say, squashing it. Sufferings can be our greatest teachers. It's just a matter of perspective, right? Well, that's it. We have personal will, we have free will, so we can choose if we want to see these as a gift or not. But the only way that I can see that Source brings us into alignment is by using these as a gift. If we look at these things, you might have gone through turbulent relationships. You might find yourself in a situation where you have no money. You might be homeless. You might be an addict to something. And all of these things are wounds that need cleared up. And then there's situations that happen that basically try and bring us into alignment with ourselves through the pain of it. I mean, it's just not a comfortable subject for me, because a lot of people come to me and they want to clear away the pain. They don't want to have to go through it. But the only way to really access your soul voice and your wisdom is the willingness to go through it. It's not the sitting in the pain and the wallowing in it. It's the sitting with your pain and talking to it. It's the sitting with your inner child and helping it to understand that you're there to help it, get to wherever it wants to go. Most of the time, your inner child just wants to be loved. Most of the time, your ego is actually part of your inner child just wanting to be loved, but doesn't believe it will be loved, so it's trying to protect you. And those barriers to love are the reasons why I believe that Source comes in and gives us little kicks, because we have to break those barriers. And it's the quickest way at the moment that we can use, because pain has huge energy in it. Pain has massive amounts of energy in it, and we can use that to destroy ourselves, or we can use that to break through the wall, break through the barrier, and get to a new ceiling, if you so will. Right? What you resist persists. Exactly. Sorry, I'm just looking back at my notes. So I've said that's why I've got an issue with the law of attraction. Explained that it misses out the awakening part, right? The way that I guess Abraham and other people, the secret, talk about the law of attraction. It misses out the fact that we have to go through these painful scenarios in order to actually be conscious enough to create effectively. People are out there trying to use the law of attraction just to win the lottery or find a perfect partner or make a lot of money in their career, and it doesn't work that way. The only way that we can really effectively make change on the planet is actually by clearing out our blocks. You can be a person who is an ego and you can manifest things. There are a limited few who can do that because their energy is still so big. But then look at the mess that they make. Trump comes to mind. So you know, it's much better to clear your crap, to become more conscious and awake, because that's the only way we will actually make change on the planet, because we'll be heart-led, we'll be heart-connected. When we have egoic blocks, we are not connected to our hearts in the same manner. We are connected to all the blocks and the wounds in the body, and we have 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 egoic thoughts in our brains that stop this, you know, heart and head connection. So we have to become heart connected. And as I keep saying, the quickest way to do that at this time is for some kind of pain to jolt us out of our egoic thinking. It brings us directly right into the now. Like, imagine someone has just stubbed your toe, or imagine you've just cut your finger, paper cut. What happens? All of your energy becomes absolutely acute in that moment to that finger or that toe, and everything else stops. All of your thoughts stop. All the things that you're thinking about that you have to do that week, you've got to get the dinner on, you've got to get that deadline met, all of that stops, because in that moment, that pain brings you right to an infinite point in time and space. You're right there with that pain. You're in it. And everything stops. And that is exactly what Source does to us when it needs us to wake up to something that is holding us back in life. That's probably the best way that I can explain it. So if you look at points of pain in your life, look at where they have jolted you out of your habitual thinking, habitual being, ways of being, and woken you up to parts of yourself that you never knew existed. I got quite passionate there about that. I liked that. And it also fails to look at the law of co-creation. So the law of co-creation is where each of us have a role to play in each other's awakening. And there's awakening on different levels. So it can be on a personal level with, you know, friends and family. Family is huge. And also intimate relationships. Intimate relationships probably have the biggest catalytic, what's the word? I want to say experience, but that's not the word. They've got the biggest catalytic promise, because they're the ones where you're going to get right close to that person's shadow, and they're going to get really close to yours. Super close to yours, going to be embroiled in each other's shadow, and you're going to be able to see it, and then you have a choice to whether to work through it consciously or not. And sometimes you'll find that the other person can't, or you can't. They might be more conscious than you, and the relationship probably won't work. It will fall apart. And what we're being called to do at the moment is, and this can happen with friends as well, and in any situation, what we're being called to do is get really, really clear on ourselves, on our beliefs, on our thinking, on our egoic structures, and then we can basically take our conscious awareness and bring it into relationship with other people, and then co-create from that space. At the moment, we're all trying to co-create from a space where, you know, either neither party are conscious and aware of their own crap, or only one party is maybe conscious of their crap and very conscious of the other person's crap, probably, if they're a conscious person. But you always default to the lowest vibration, because you can hold a really high vibration and pull these people up with you. But if you're there for a long length of time, it's very, very, very difficult to do that. This is why I'm huge on finding your tribe. Find your tribe of people. Find people who will help to elevate you. People who are doing the work on themselves. People who are looking and searching and trying to understand themselves and grow, and who are open to source and love and connected to their heart. Because those are the people that will help you to stay elevated. It's really hard to stay elevated when you're around people who are not of that vibration. You will slip down that slidey, muddy, messy pit. That's what's in my head. And you'll just get stuck at the bottom, and you'll keep trying to get up the slide that's covered in shit. And it's after Watershed, so I can't say that. It's covered in shit, and it's their shit a lot of the time, and you will come tumbling back down. So find your tribe. Kate says impact. Is the word that I was trying to find, Kate? Helena says triggers. I'm not sure what that relates to, but yes, if it relates to relationship, absolutely. There's huge triggers in relationships, all relationships, but especially intimate relationships. They're the ones that are going to call you to be your best self, and they're the ones that are going to test you. They're going to test you at every moment. They're going to test who you become when you're your worst self, and then you get to see it in its full glory and decide whether you want to be there or not. Hilarious. So it's not hilarious at the time, but honestly, universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it, has such a very cryptic and kind of dry and dark sense of humour, right, as it gets darker in here. Awakenings on different levels. Yes, awakening on different levels. We've got global awakenings. We've got intimate awakenings. The global awakenings at the moment are absolutely what's going on in our political system here in the West. We basically are looking at the shadow right now. I've been saying this since Trump and Hillary in America. In America, they had the choice between two faces of shadow, which was Hillary or Trump. And Trump was like the blatant face of shadow. Hillary was like the hidden face. It was like we hear things about her. We hear nasty things about her, pedophilia and, killing people and all of this stuff. But we don't actually know for sure, but we hear these things. Trump was chosen because he was the blatant face of shadow. Like, there's no hiding from that, right? Because people wanted more transparency. So whilst I don't particularly like Trump, I'm just going to say that. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like his ethos. I don't like any of that. But you kind of know what you're getting, right? Here in the UK, that is now happening here. It's like it's just taken that energy and gone gazump right into the UK. And we're now experiencing the face of shadow here. And it's blatant and it's happening all over. And with all the attacks and even the tower that burnt down here in London and all of that, we are being shown what's going on, right? We are being shown the wounds. We've been shown the childhood wounds. We've been shown the egoic structures, right? So this feeds into exactly what I'm talking about. We've been shown the wounds. We've been shown the ego of the government, right, and of the media. And we now have a choice of what we are going to make of that. If we stand back and do nothing, it just repeats, right? It will repeat. I don't know how long it will take, but it'll just keep repeating. It's very unlikely, though, that we will step right back, because as soon as you plant a seed, as soon as there's awareness, it's really hard to go back. And what's been happening here is that the awareness is growing and growing and growing. It's no longer just a few. It's becoming the many. And something that I will talk about in the future, not right now, I had something that come through many years ago when I was really studying the masculine and feminine energies. And at the time, everyone was talking about the feminine energy rising up and becoming, trying to balance out the masculine energy on the planet. And, sorry, I just saw Pontus just dropped on. Pontus, I'm so sorry, because we were supposed to speak, so I'm just going to call it out now. So if you're around after this live stream, let me know and we'll catch up. So I've lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I was in such a good train of thought. And people are messaging me as I'm on here. So it's very unlikely we will go revert right back, because once you've planted a seed and you've seen something, we come into a different paradigm with it. Oh, that's where I was. I was on the masculine and feminine. So I was studying the masculine and feminine energies. And there's an amazing book called The Dance of the Selves. Whilst we're there, I'm going to move because it's getting dark. There's an amazing book called The Dance of the Selves. And it talks about masculine and feminine and balancing that energy within us. But there was something that was missed. And the bit that was missed was there is the time of the feminine energy rising up to not emasculate and take away the masculine energy. It was actually just about balancing. It's not about becoming like super feminist. It's about the balancing of that and the divine masculine, dropping more into itself rather than being this kind of go-getting, controlling, aggressive kind of masculine. that really came up in the 80s. That's really when that was like its full bloom in this, this generation of people. But then there'll be the time of the child, because the masculine and feminine will be more in balance. And then the time of the child, where it is a clearing of wounds. It is a rebalancing and a reconnecting to the heart, because that's where our child resides, in the body, in the heart space, connected to our soul. And look at what's happening on the planet at the moment. In the Western world anyway, it's a calling from the young people to stand up and take part in politics in a way they've never done before. To stand up and speak out to the media in a way they've never done before. To really fully embody, this connection to themselves, and to become, I guess I want to say, more adult whilst they're young, but to not let the older generations really railroad them into a future that they don't want to be a part of. The generations of people who have just let governments do what they want. We've seen it in America with the young ones rising up against Trump. We have seen that happening, and I think we're going to see way more of that here. I don't know what that looks like, but at the moment it looks like a stance against media and a stance against the government. So that's what's happening on a global level. This is where soul alignment is giving us a kick up the arse to bring us into a more heart-led way of being. And it's needed, because we just had, maybe, say for example, right, if before Theresa May and all of that, happened, if we had a government where everything was just kind of the way it was before, just kind of, half of us, maybe more than half of us, never really knew what was going on in the government, don't really know where the money's going. We don't really know how much the banks have, right? How much money there is in the system. We keep being told that the NHS is being given money. We keep being told that schools are being given money. And then we're told there's these cuts, and no one really knows what's going on. No one actually really knows. The governments have just been able to kind of do what they want. We don't know who's funding the arms in Syria. We don't know who's helping the people in Syria. We don't know what's happening. No one knows what's happening. And I personally feel that this global soul alignment is about us becoming more transparent. The work that I do with empaths talks about this, that all of us have an ability to really connect on a conscious level to each other, in a bigger way. Just a lot of us don't really know how to do it that well, because we've never been trained to do it that well. But I believe that as time goes on, we will have to become more transparent. We will get to a point where lies are just completely obvious, right? Maybe that's happening right now with the government, but lies will start to become really obvious. I'm just laughing. Marcus just sent me a message. Please stop sending me messages when I'm live streaming. I get so put off. So also there's another bit as well, which is about the law of opposites. So the way that our world works right now is that there are opposites, because they work like a magnet. So I guess this comes back to the fact that this catalytic energy is needed for us to waken up. And, we have positive and negative charges on the planet like batteries, and we kind of need to know what we want. So we need to know where we want to go, and that is given to you by your soul trying to pull you forward. But we also need the negative experiences to know what we absolutely don't want, so we can get really, really clear on the things that we don't need in our world, and really clear on the things that we do. So the thing with soul alignment is, you're never going to just go through life and have an amazing experience. You're never just going to meet your soulmate and then that's it, and it's happy days forever. There are things going to come up throughout your lifetime where your soul is trying to pull you into alignment. I'm just going to change my page. I've got here, this is a learnt collective choice. Oh, yeah, okay. Give me 2 seconds whilst I move, because I don't think anyone can see me now. I want to move into the light. Is everybody on point with what I'm talking about? Does anyone want to ask any questions whilst I'm moving? Give my brain a break. Everyone is quiet. Does anyone want to ask a question? No? No? Okay. So, my second point on that, although I think I covered about 5, what I've got down as number 2, is that this way of us learning, this catalytic boot up the backside from the universe, the message is it doesn't have to be that way. Natalie says, like what you're sharing, Gail. Oh, cool. Thank you, Natalie. I hope everyone is understanding it. Sometimes as it comes through, the information comes through so fast that my mouth is trying to catch up. So I'm not always sure if it totally makes sense. I kind of have to then listen to myself back just to try and pick up the train of thought. Sounds a bit weird, but that's channeling for you. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like this information just comes from me. It comes through me. Jacqueline says, I understand this topic fully. Awesome. Great. That's amazing. So one of the messages that I have for you on this topic is that this is a learnt collective choice. We could choose to learn from each other, from the heart, but we have been dominated by egoic thinking and societal structures, hence why the universal kick up the backside is at this moment required. And what I actually put down after it, which was kind of funny, is the lioness needs to protect her cubs. Sometimes she needs to roar. And maybe I just kind of feel like that's what's happening at the moment when I watch these people standing up against the media and the government and all these things. I keep going on about that. But that is where anger is used at its absolute best. For those of you who know me, I talk about anger as anger's not wrong, but I don't like the way that anger is used. We mistake the energy of anger. Anger is supposed to be a directive force that helps us to take action and make change. We've mistaken it for rage. Rage is not what anger was supposed to be. Rage is a complete taking over of angry energy and then a spilling out of our pain. If we are people who are conscious and who have worked on our pain and we know what our triggers are, those people, when they feel angry because they are trying to actually make change in the world. People like that, like I consider myself, like I don't really get angry that often. The person that pushes my buttons the most with anger is my child, when she won't hurry up and get ready for school. I notice I'm triggered then. However, I'm always a late person, so the trigger is because I have issues around my timekeeping, and now I'm just witnessing it in her. But I don't just get angry just for the sake of it. So I kind of feel that the collective choice at the moment is, most of us want to stay in the matrix and stay asleep. It's the blue or the red pill. There's not many of us who, in recent times who've really wanted to wake up, but I feel that's changing. And as it changes, we will get to a point where we're able to stand more in alignment with ourselves without all the wounds, and we'll be able to connect with each other on a deeper level, where we're able to say, to call up the fact that we've been triggered and say, I'm really sorry. I shouted at you, I screamed at you. It was actually my pain that was going on. and the other person will be able to witness that and to meet each other there. And then we'll be able to learn from a heart-based place what's actually going on. But at the moment, there are a lot of people who are not like that on the planet. And there's a lot of people who don't even know what I'm talking about. It will probably go right over their heads. So this is why at the moment, the universal kick up the backside is necessary. But there's another way. There is another way. But the conscious people have to choose it. So us conscious people who are waking up to ourselves and to the ways of being on the planet, we must choose to do that work and also to teach the work. So I feel really called at the moment to say that to those of you who are out there as healers and light workers and conscious creators of life, that if you are a person who feels called to do the work, then it's absolutely necessary that you start doing it at this time. That's why I've been doing these live streams, to help people to understand that it's okay, and to keep going and to not stop and to become a heart-led warrior. Because at the moment, the sensitive and intuitive people have been hiding away for such a long time, and live streaming has actually made it a lot easier for these people to access the wider world. Now we need to stand up. Now we need to actually get out there and do our heart-led thing. Because the other people who are not heart-led, who are ego-led, are the ones who are ruling the planet right now. And it's really, it looks like there's a war on, political war going on, or even a war on racism, or a war on religion and all of that. But actually the war is not there. The war is actually between consciousness and unconsciousness. It is the war of the matrix, right? Without sounding too cryptic. It was kind of cryptic, wasn't it? Just having a look at my notes. So maybe I'll give you some examples, but first off I'll just read back what people are saying. Natalie says it makes sense. Awesome. Marcus says, what if someone hasn't reached the point of accepting or being ready to get it? Any advice? That's exactly what I'm talking about. So if someone hasn't reached the point of accepting, your soul will just keep trying to pull you forward. And if you don't listen or you don't get it, you get a kick up the backside, because that's the only way that Source can actually get us to move right now. At this time, Source doesn't want people to be asleep. It really doesn't. So it will keep putting things in your way. It'll put people in your path. It'll put situations in your path that you have no choice but to look at yourself. And you do have free will, so you can keep turning away, but it will keep bringing them experiences. And one after another, after another, after another, you will have the choice to whether you want to join in the call to waking up. And sometimes, I've watched this, not in my own life recently so much, but with someone that was close to me who wouldn't listen and had, one after another, really close together, lots of things that happened. And his will, his ego was so big that he did not wake up. And so he will have more of that to come. That's how it works. Jacqueline says, you and me both, Ari, timing. I'm working on it and getting better. Oh, cool, Jacqueline. Are you going to start live streaming? Marcus sent me a thing. I'll look at that later. Natalie said, you spoke about the young waking up and taking action. I see that in lots of them suddenly becoming vegan. Yeah, you're so right. They're getting it. It's amazing. Yeah, that's the other thing. There are way more people becoming vegan now. It's crazy. Like the young ones, like taking over. And now, the world is starting to recognize that and starting to promote vegan food as if it's cool. What if I think about 10 years ago, maybe, it really wasn't cool to be vegan. It just wasn't. And vegans were kind of seen as these hippy-dippy people who didn't really have a clue about being in the world, I want to say. But now it's kind of got cooler. It's like a cool thing. And there's lots more people. I know from, you know, I make raw chocolates, so I know from doing that I met so many people who were becoming lactose intolerant. It'd be discovered they were lactose intolerant. So people come into veganism and clean eating through actually finding that their body is just saying no. That's interesting to me, that the body, because I'm a person who believes in the body speaking, that the body is saying no to these things. They're realising that cruelty is not cool. Yeah, absolutely, Natalie. Yeah, so true. People, but that to me shows an awakening of the heart, because when your heart opens, and it opens fully, to me, people like that find it really hard to actually hurt animals. It will keep happening until the lesson is learned and then on to the next. Yep, that's it. Exactly, Jacqueline. Continuous growth. Yeah, totally. So that was Marcus's question. Yeah, that's the thing. It's basically, that's what I'm saying, is just the quickest tool at the moment is universal kick up the bum. So just quickly, I'll just go over things that happen in my life. So my soul trying to bring me into alignment with getting to this place, with talking to you about all of this. I could never have foreseen this, right? I could never, back in the day, I knew I really wanted to be, I was a creative, I really wanted to use my voice, but I also loved art. And there was this kind of, you know, thing in me, whereas I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do art, you know, because they tell you at school you have to focus on one thing. I wanted to do art and I wanted to do music. And I couldn't find any course that would let me do art and music at the same time, other than a music course at Strathclyde Uni where you got to do art history, which I thought would be really boring. I actually wanted to create art. So I decided, stuff that, I'm going to go and do music. Because I thought at the time, I'm 17, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, I'll go and do that thing. So I went to do music, studying singing, and then eventually, you know, after a few years of studying and being in a band with an ex of mine, I then got to sing with a band called Incognito, who I loved because I listened to them loads when I was at college, got really into that style of music. And when I thought of a band I really wanted to work with, it was them. So I ended up working with them through a series of events that happened, which I won't get into now, maybe in another stream. But during that time, I had now I recognise old wounds, old childhood patterns that were coming up. And I didn't see it because I didn't know about this stuff then. But that stuff was happening during that time. So eventually I left, and I kind of had this dream of, like, you know, I wanted to write my own album. I thought, and I was really, I was becoming really broody. I don't know why I don't know whether it was biological clock or whether that was soul alignment. I don't know. I felt really broody. And then by accident, wasn't planned, I fall pregnant within like 3 months of being, you know, have left the band. And instead of me writing this amazing album and having this sort of blooming pregnancy whilst I wrote an album, I ended up probably in the worst state of health I've ever been in. I had a condition called hyperemesis, which only 5% of Western women have. And it means you are extremely sick, you vomit all over the place, morning, noon and night. It's not morning sickness, it's a nightmare. And I couldn't eat. I think I can remember one of the last meals I had for, you know, before I ended up in hospital was plums. It was the only thing I could eat. I couldn't even eat the skin. I could eat the flesh inside of it. But everything was coming up. It was terrible. And then my esophagus basically tore, and I ended up in emergency, and they were trying to get morphine into me at 12 weeks pregnant because I was screaming the place down. I was in agony. And yes, it wasn't nice. They put 6 pints of fluid into me because I was so dehydrated. So I was not in a good place. And I ended up in hospital 3 times due to this pregnancy. Luckily, my daughter is totally fine now. But that pregnancy and then a traumatic... everything just seemed traumatic. It was one trauma after another. Sorry, my nose has got really itchy. Yeah, it was one trauma after another. And once I had her, then she had trouble feeding. Then she suddenly had allergies. Then I had to change our diet. I got into raw food. And then it was just out of desperation I really went into raw food because I didn't know what else to do. She was just reacting to everything. She was covered in eczema. She would vomit sometimes when she had certain foods. She was all swollen. I couldn't get her clothes on her. And I spent probably 2 years, the best part of 2 years, in the loneliest place I think I've ever been. Because I changed to raw food, my family thought I was bonkers. I think they thought I was killing my child. The doctors couldn't help. We went to hospital. They just offered steroid creams, which I was not prepared to put on her skin and have it all thin out. And really my partner, I mean, he tried his best at the time, but he didn't really believe in what I was doing either. And it wasn't until I reached out and found a raw food group in Glasgow, which was completely shocking and surprising to me that I could find that I started to find some like minds and really find my soul tribe there, which I absolutely so needed after 2 years of feeling really alone. But if I look at that now, I can see that my soul was trying to pull me into alignment with doing this work. It was saying to me, even way back when I was in the bend, I could feel this thing of like, this isn't it. Like, you thought this was it, but it's not it. Like, there's things here you need to see about yourself. There was wounds in me that I wasn't clear on. I had real trouble speaking my truth. I had a lot of fear I would hold back. So that would be the first thing. But also, if I'd stayed on that path, I would never have become more awake. I would never have become more conscious, because the path to consciousness for me really came through the trials and tribulations I had with my daughter and changing our diet. So anyone who has seen the other day, I'd done a podcast with Damien. It's on my page. If you go and have a look, you can download it for free on iTunes, where I talk about the fact that the diet change and getting into detox and all of that really actually helped me to wake up. Like, literally, there was like completely different paradigm of insights happening in my mind. And if I hadn't have gone through that with Ella, I wouldn't have changed my diet. I wouldn't have become a detox coach. I wouldn't have done any of that. And I wouldn't be as awake as I am now. In order to do the work that I'm doing today, it was a series of events, and there's lots of other things that have happened. It's not just that, but lots of other things that happened to enable me to get here. But I have to say that most of the things that have happened to me throughout that time that have given me the biggest awakening, the biggest boot to enlightenment, have been immensely painful, because I couldn't have gotten there any other way. There's no way that I would have, like being a singer in incognito, if someone had turned around to me and said, well, actually, say my soul appeared in front of me, right, freaked me out, however she looks. Maybe she's an alien, I don't know. But maybe if she'd appeared in front of me and said, well, love, I know you really love this singing, and I know it's definitely something that will always be part of your life, but we want you to, me and the higher powers want you to get into alignment with what we're asking you to do as work on the planet. So you have to become a detox coach. You have to start making healthy food, and you have to help people to stop eating the things that they're eating that are doing them damage, so they become more awake and they can get healthier and cleaner, and you're going to help to transform, loads of people. I would have just looked at that soul or whatever and said, you are off your absolute trolley, because I don't want to do that. Of course I don't want to do that. Who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. It's never what I wanted to do, right? I would never, ever, ever, ever have chosen that. And then, to top it all off, if that soul had come to me and stood in front of me when I'm writing a detox plan for people or helping people to clean up their diet, and said to me, well, you're enjoying doing this at the moment, and you're now helping people, and you really enjoy helping people. Now we want you to do talks. In a year's time, you're going to be doing loads of talks. like going to Yes groups doing talks and going to festivals doing talks and Veg Fest doing talks, I'd have just been like, I don't want to talk. No way, I can't speak. Like, I can sing, I'll go on stage and sing, but I can't speak. And then, after that, if that soul had come to me and said, do you know what, Gail? There's more than this. There's more now, so I'm shaking my phone. There's more. And the more is this. We want you to go on live streams and talk about consciousness, and you're going to help to wake people up to the things that's in them that stop them from growing. I would absolutely have shat a brick. And in fact I did, because when I got the calling to go and start live streaming this stuff, I couldn't do it. Periscope appeared. Periscope was like the first live streaming app, I think. There was that in Meerkat, I think, but I don't think anyone really used that, I'm not sure. Periscope was the biggest one though. And I felt really called to do it, and I just kept looking at it and thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm a hippie. All the people who know me from Incognito or from my detox and stuff are going to think I'm weird. No one know what I'm talking about. And I had so much judgment around it that it was stopping me. And then I just, got past myself and just did it. And things came through me that I'd never said before that I knew were absolutely true. It was the most awakening and enlightening experience that I'd ever had, because I just felt like an absolute channel for this new information, and I just didn't know what to do with it, to be quite honest. It became a bit overwhelming, and I stopped for a while because I realised that the information that I was given is poignant, but also I needed to make it more concise. And it's taken me another heap of lessons really over the last year to be able to get to this point. So now I can look back and see, because it's always in hindsight, it's much easier to see where my soul has been guiding me to. And I don't know where it's guiding me to next, although I kind of have a feeling about a book. So stay tuned for that. But that's been kind of coming up for me, and it came up for me today in a reading that I had with this lady who I was advised to go and see, and she said she could see a book in the cards, as in tarot cards, and was telling me to do that. So that's come up again a few times the last few days, which is interesting. But again, if someone had said to me, a couple of years ago, you need to write a book on consciousness and on soul voices and connecting to your soul voice and the inner child, and I would have just been like, that is absolutely terrifying, and I haven't got a clue how to do it, because I didn't know how to do that then. So anyway, big long story just to say that that's some of the experiences that I went through that led me to where I am now. And without those, without going through the painful places, I wouldn't be as wise and connected to myself, right? Regardless of whether you guys think I'm wise and connected, but I feel that now within me. I feel like I know myself much more. I hear the calling much more. I feel more awake and more solid within myself because of the trials and tribulations that I've been through. It's, my consciousness has not necessarily expanded in the joyful moments. I felt great in the joyful moments. I felt great happiness. I felt, a huge love and connection to people. But I wouldn't say that the love and connection has stripped away the layers of ego. The stripping away of the layers in order to create space for my consciousness to expand was in the places where the pain was, because consciousness at the moment, our awakening is intrinsically connected to the egoic wounds. So we need to strip those away. We need to strip all the conditioning away that stop us from moving forward. And then we're given like little breadcrumbs to follow. Just keep looking for the synchronicities. The breadcrumbs are there, they're there, they're there, they're there. Keep following it. And then, eventually we get to the next stage that our soul is trying to pull us into alignment with. And soul purpose, just on top of that, is incremental. I don't believe we have one soul purpose. I think we have many soul purposes. I think our purpose is happening in the moment that we make each choice. So we keep being pulled forward, and hopefully as long as we're listening and we're connected to that, we can start to see where we're being pulled to. So I've gone over all that bit. I'm just reading the last little bit, sorry, to see what I've put in here. So for you, for example, if you've had to think about where your painful places were, so it could be being in a certain kind of relationship. I know that definitely happened to me. It could be leaving a relationship that would bring you into alignment. It could be going to a certain place. You might be called to go and live in a certain place or a certain country. I felt that about London, for example. It might be to meet certain people. You might meet certain people along the path who are going to test you where you want to go. Or they might pull you into alignment in another way, like my daughter. Okay, I didn't exactly meet her. I guess I did. I guess I created her. Her soul decided to, come and be with me. Without her, I wouldn't be awake today. I just wouldn't. So I know that she was a huge catalyst for me. It might be a near-death experience. I know someone have experienced that. It might be a loved one dying. I know that in my reading today, my friend James popped up. She mentioned him almost straight away. And he was, I really hardly knew him for that long. But we just had this super heart connection, just as friends, like this amazing connection. And his death really slapped my mortality around my face, and I dreamed of him. I believe that he came to me in dreams, and whether that was my subconscious or whether it was actually his spirit, I don't know. But, he gave me messages in those dreams as to the choices I was making in my life. So these are all painful gifts that we're given, but they are a gift because they help us to wake up and move forward in life if we choose it, because we still have choice. So I think that's me done for today. I am going to go now. Hello, Lay. I'm just going to go. So if you go back and check the beginning of this, because I'm getting kind of tired now, because that was kind of full on for me. So I hope all of you got that. So don't be afraid of the painful things that happen in life. Don't be afraid of the things that seem difficult, because absolutely, whilst I just add on here, just got a little bit more coming through. When something is kicking off in your world, you are closer to your soul than ever before. The reason for this is because your ego knows, and your ego will do anything it can to stop you from breaking through that ceiling and connecting to a higher place, not because it's frightened of your soul, it's just frightened of disappearing. It believes it's your protector. It's this neurotic teenager that believes it's your protector. So the closer you get to an enlightening moment, the closer you get to awakening and connecting to your soul and your higher purpose and following that path, your ego kicks off bigger than ever before. So that can also happen. So look for the times in your life when there are things happening in your world, painful things, scary things. You might have lost a job, you might have lost a friend, you might have lost a parent, you might be extremely ill, you might be dying, it could be anything, whatever it is. And then listen to what goes on inside and start to hear the voice of ego and also where your soul and intuition is guiding you to. That voice is usually a lot quieter because we haven't cultivated it. This is what I'm teaching at the moment, is connecting to the soul voice on a bigger level, because the ego is like this little parasite that resides in the brain. It talks in your ear. It sits right in here. Your soul is down in your body. It needs some time to go from the heart up to your head. You need to create some space in order to hear it. And sometimes the space where we hear it is like I was talking about earlier. It's that stubbing of the toe. It's the paper cut. It's the pain that makes us be in the now. That's what the now is to me. It's about checking in with what's happening right now and then hearing your soul voice. It's not just about living in the now without ever imagining a future that you want, or without ever looking at your past to see where the nuggets of pain started. It's not that for me. It's just about being snapped into the now so that there's an opportunity to have space to awaken and connect to your soul voice. So anyway, I shall leave it at that. Jacqueline says, brilliant, thank you, my type of conversation. Awesome, Jacqueline. Please follow me if you're not already. And I will be back. Let me go and just see what the next bit is. Oh, not sure if I can find it. Yes, I can. Oh, yes. So the next topic will be on inner child healing, right? Connecting to your inner child. I have spoken about this before, but as I said, I'm going over what I teach in one-to-one sessions, and soul alignment is part of it for absolute sure. So if you would like to take part in my one-to-one sessions, I am doing 5 sessions altogether at the moment. But I will give a couple of sessions for free as a taster if you would like to see what's going on in your world. So if you would like to do that, I've got some slots available. I'm working with 3 lovely ladies at the moment, but I've got another couple of slots left. So if you would like to take part in that, please message me and I can book you in. And I will be back to talk about connecting to your inner child healing maybe tomorrow. I will try and do one tomorrow. As I say that and then things crop up, but I will try not to let that happen, because I was resistant to this one because it's such a big and kind of deep and maybe a bit heavy topic. And when I do my live streams, I kind of like to keep it a bit light sometimes, but this one isn't really light, it's a bit heavy. Anyway, so I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you all for joining me. And as I said, follow me. And if you like this content and you think anyone would like it, you can share if you want. All right, loves, I shall check in with you again soon. Bye.